My final question, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but for those of us who got into this subject of astral projection, out-of-body experience, remote viewing, for the experience, to say, wow, this is cool, and to validate it, what is the first step after that in order to get over that wanting to experience? What should our intentions be?
Well, going into a out-of-body because you just want to validate that there is a larger reality, well, that's a fair thing to do. If your ultimate goal is to go out of body, if that's really what you want to do, and it's not, you don't see it as kind of a step on a path to something more important, like growing up, then it's never going to amount to much. If all you're doing is having an experience, then eventually that will grow old, even boring, if you simply just remain a tourist. If that's all you are, if you're just a tourist going out to see the sights, particularly sights that you don't particularly understand, you can't really relate to because they're outside of your reality frame, but you just go and see the sights, that is not going to take you anywhere important. And you will probably, after a while, give it up and go do something else because it's got no value other than perhaps entertainment. So one should focus on growing up in the big picture, evolving their consciousness. Exploring the larger reality is good in the experimental or learning sense. In other words, if you're going there to learn, to find things out, to discover about the nature of reality, to discover about possibility and who are you and what you are and what your possibilities are and what can you do and what are your limitations and why. If that's your point, then it's a learning, it's experimenting, it's exploring. But if you're exploring is just like I say, as a tourist, if you're just seeing new sights, then you're mainly wasting your time. And I suspect that people who have that attitude, after a while they quit because there's not much to it, there's not much in it. They need to realize, people who are doing out of body, they need to realize that what they see, hear, feel, taste, and smell are simply metaphors. They're receiving data. They interpret that data in terms of metaphors based on what is in their own experience database, if you will, their own physical experience, because that's their database. Okay? They are beings in a virtual reality game here on this planet, and when they go out of body, they interpret what they get, the data they get. They're not really seeing something. When you're out of body, you don't really have ears and eyes and senses. You just get data, but you interpret the data as if you had senses. In other words, you're interpreting it in terms of the physical metaphors that you're used to, because that's the only way you can then bring it back and express it as language. We think in terms of language, so you can't even think about it until you've expressed that data in terms of physical metaphors and symbols. So if you go out there and you see a big monster with 3 green heads, it's not really a monster with 3 green heads. You saw something that was scary, and you interpreted it as a monster with 3 green heads, you see. So you have to realize that all of those things are simply metaphors for the interpretation of the data they receive. Okay. That experience, any experience, in any reality frame, including the experiences you have in this reality frame, boil down to a series of choices. Okay? So when you're in out-of-body, things happen and you have choices. When you're in this physical reality frame, things happen and you have choices. You see, they're similar in that way. Well, make choices that matter. Make choices that lead to the evolution of the quality of your consciousness, to becoming love, to spiritual growth, to lower entropy. And if you make choices like that, then all of those choices, no matter what reality frame you're in, will help you grow. And that's the point of your existence. So yes, you can use the out-of-body reality frame to grow up in, but you can also use it to waste time in. And you can use the reality frame of this physical reality to grow up in, or you can use it to waste time in. So all of that's, all of that comes out to be about the same. You have to realize that our point here, the reason you're here, the reason you exist, is to grow up. And if you can do that in a virtual reality other than this physical virtual reality, then fine, do that. But don't waste your time in any reality frame. And since you're here in this physical frame kind of first, that's your home, that's probably where you can do most of your growing. So don't get unbalanced. Don't spend all your time in a larger consciousness system when you're missing opportunities to grow up here on planet Earth.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom.
You're quite welcome. I hope you got what you were looking for.